Greetings, and welcome to Next Stop Loading, the Growth Series. I am your host, Melissa, aka Stella, overworked millennial turned freshman entrepreneur. So did things really change? Right. Anyhow, each week, I'll bring you a conversation with professional women in various industries that are doing and or have done what the pandemic is teaching all of us to do. Figure it out. As a member of the Great Resignation, this series is dedicated to career and life transition. I hope this series engages and inspires you to grow with us on this journey of navigating this thing called life. I hope you know you're not alone. Join us. All right, we're live. Greetings. I know, right? Greetings and welcome to Next Stop Loading, our growth series where we're focusing on Black women that have relocated and the impact that journey has had on them. I do want to thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time out. Awesome.
I feel like a real celebrity over here.
You are.
Doing a podcast and all. I didn't know I was supposed to beat my face. I'm coming here raw, give you the authentic.
But look, just natural beauty across the board. I see it. It's there. The glow is there. You're welcome. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. So if you could tell us your name, your current occupation, and where you currently reside.
Got it. So, Valicia Brown, Director of Content Team Sports. I work at Under Armour, Director of Content Team Sports. So what that means is that I oversee all content production when it comes to Under Armour football handle, Under Armour basketball handle, and also the Under Armour brand handle that most of you guys follow. If you don't follow, go ahead and hit that follow button right now.
Hit that follow button right now.
Hit that follow button, like everything. So I'm week 6 or 8 in at this point. Currently residing in Chicago, Illinois. I've been in Chicago for 10 years. I remember when I first moved up here, it was right after the Snowmageddon. What was that, 2011? Mm-hmm. And it's cold, but I love it up here. But I love Chicago. Chicago loves me. But, sometimes good things have to come to an end.
Completely understood. Transitions can be beautiful. So you said Director of Content Sports?
Team sports. So you think of team sports, you get basketball, football, baseball. We do a little lacrosse, a little bit of volleyball. Golf is under my my preview, even though that's not a team sport. But yeah. Basically, if we make a product for it and it's a team sport, then I'm responsible for building those deeper engagements with consumers. Because, you have your brand marketing, like buy Under Armour, and then you have your product marketing, buy this certain product. But, people buy brands that they love. So I'm trying to build up like a content strategy to make people fall in love with Under Armour again. Make them get the nostalgia. Will you protect this house?
Tagline. Insert tagline here. I dig it. So I want to ask, is that something, as far as content, is that something you've always wanted to do?
Well, yes and no. Growing up, I thought I was going to be the female Spke Lee. That's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to go to NYU. I wanted to study under Spke Lee, and I just knew I was going to be doing the male version of Crooklyn or Lola. What's the male version of Lola? And I don't know why that show is blanking on my blanket right now, but that's what I wanted to do. But I played basketball growing up. And I had a scholarship to go to St. Augustine University, and just financially, it was just smarter to take my full ride versus paying out of pocket $40,000 a year for NYU, or like I applied to USC also, or UCLA. Like I really thought I was moving to Hollywood. But I ended up going to St. Augustine University, smaller school, HBCU proud, homecomings were lit. And we had a and I was a film major, and I remember I went to my first film festival. It was like the Asheville, North Carolina local film festival.
Wow.
And it was a great experience, but I remember, I'm like, man, all these people are broke, and they trying to make it with their independent film. I'm like, this is not glamorous at all. And I understand that there's a grind to get where you need to be, but I was just like, you know what? Maybe being a film director isn't the route that I wanted to go. So I switched my major to communications, and I started interning at the local NBC affiliate in Raleigh, editing content. So for example, when you watch the news and you hear the anchor talking and what they're talking about matches in the video, that's what I was doing, and I really liked that. So then I went to grad school for advertising, and this is also a rule to anybody listening: do better research than I did as far as going to grad school. I applied, I googled the top advertising programs. Syracuse came up. I applied to Syracuse because you didn't have to do a thesis to graduate. Amen. I was like, oh, amen to that.
Yes.
But I didn't do enough research on the program to understand that this is not creating commercials. This is this side of advertising that I applied to is the advertising of placing the commercials. So I get there, I'm like, oh, this is cool, but where the creative classes? They were like, yeah, this is not a creative school. I was like, should have did a little bit more research there.
Right.
But long story short, I still had that passion. Like in high school, my major was TV production, so I still had that passion to create, and I kind of meandered and found my groove while earning a paycheck and being able to live until I gradually get to the point of what I want to do. So I'm not creating feature films that will be in AMC movie theaters, or I don't even know if people are going back to movie theaters, but I am creating content of short films that are featured on YouTube, and I have the opportunity now to help produce content that could potentially be picked up by Netflix or Amazon or something like that. So not Spike Lee, but
Spike Lee adjacent.
Adjacent, and I could be the first Valicia Brown, you know? So,
there you go. One of a kind.
Original.
I like it. The last place I heard you mention was Syracuse. So we did internships in Raleigh, and then we went to grad school at Syracuse. But we were still on like another form of advertising. So from Syracuse, traveling or relocating, this is no longer a thing, right? So St. Augustine is where, if you don't mind me asking?
In Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay,
so,
in Raleigh.
Born and raised Maryland. Went to undergrad in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
Then moved to Syracuse for a year, some change for grad school. And then from there, I moved to Atlanta for my first job. Well, I didn't move there for my first job. I knew I wanted to live in Atlanta. I was young. Atlanta was popping. I wanted to be out in the streets. I wasn't really thinking about my career, so I moved to Atlanta.
Wanted to be outside.
Because I wanted to hang out. So I moved to Atlanta, didn't have a job, stayed with my aunt, found a job, working at advertising, working on a Home Depot account. Did that for about 3 years, and then I ended up moving to Chicago. When I moved to Chicago, that's when I got more focused about my career. Like, hey, you know what? I need to start making some real money. I need to get focused on my career.
So, relocating hasn't been a thing for you. Like, well, I would say going to Raleigh for school, was that a big leap for you?
I knew I didn't want to stay in Maryland. I knew that hands down. I knew I wanted to get away from home, and I'm glad I did. I think it's a certain experience you get from not just staying in PG County, Maryland, and then going to a local school 30 minutes away where I can always pop home when I want. Versus going to a school where you need to think about, how am I going to get home from Thanksgiving? How am I going to get back? How am I going to get home for Christmas? What am I going to do for my stuff over the summertime? Because it's not just a quick drive where I'm going to store it. So, I think that also brought me out of a shell in the aspect of thinking that the DMV was the world. You know,
End all be all.
End all be all. I met people from New York, the Caribbean islands, Cali, Seattle, Washington. I remember she was saying, I'm from Washington. I'm like, oh, what part of Washington? She was like, the state, not DC. I was like, oh. So
on the other side.
Yeah, it just gave me being immersed in so many different cultures. Like, people could say, oh, I could tell you from the DMV, and I was like, why? I could just tell by the way you dress. And then I was thinking, oh, I'm doing that to everybody else. I could tell who's from New York. I could tell who's from the islands, who's from Miami, Fort Lauderdale. And it just opened my eyes to so many different things and cultures, and helped feeding my love to travel.
So that initially kind of sparked the travel bug for you, huh?
Yes, definitely. Just, you know, people saying, oh, you know, I'm like, what are you doing for the holidays? Oh, I'm going back home. Where's home? Bahamas. I'm like, you're spending the holidays in Bahamas? And they were like, yeah, that's where I'm from. And to me, that's exciting. To them, it's like another day. Another day on the yard. Yeah,
I dig it. So you transitioned to Atlanta because Atlanta was popping and you wanted to be outside. It was a thing. But then you said amen to cheap to live, especially when you're young and not making that much money. Amen. So then you transitioned to Chicago and you said you started to take your career more serious. What was the job that kind of got you into that mindset, or was, I would say, spearheaded the trajectory of your career?
I would say with the mindset, one, Chicago is way more expensive than Atlanta to live. So I knew that I would have to do better work to get promoted. And I think it was also the food and the restaurants and the events and stuff that I wanted to do. I was like, oh, this stuff costs money. And if I want to make more money and progress in my career, I'm going to have to get serious about it. So working on SC Johnson is what really taught me a lot as far as content, digital, print, out of home, everything. And then that started for me to figure out, wait, this is what I really love. I don't like this stuff too much, which is probably why I wasn't too serious about my job in Atlanta, because I was just doing the grunt work, which comes with being fresh out of college. You know, fresh out of college, you're not about to be the CEO of any company. I mean, you could be, but the reality is that most of us aren't. So then I started to focus on, well, this is what I like doing. Let's push myself there. Let me make connections with people doing this stuff more. So I started doing content on SC Johnson. I remember going to my first shoot in Phoenix, middle June, July.
Ooh.
Oh gosh, it was hot as
that's 100
hell.
degree
Like, you can look outside
heat.
the window and you can see the heat waves. And I was like, this is wild. But we were inside the whole time, and I'm like, this is, I love it, because I get the Spke Lee aspect, but have a budget and not worrying about producing a long feature film. So once I did that, then I started moving in my career, jumping to one agency to another, and I think I really found myself when I was at Spark, leading branded content for Miller Coors. So I did all Miller Coors, that entire team, about 12 people doing content for Miller Coors. So that's Miller Lite, Coors Light, Blue Moon, Miller High Life, Red's Apple Ale. Basically anything custom branded content went through my team. And that is when I was like, oh man, can I really make a career out of just doing content?
Right.
And so let's go, sign me up. And I really love the sports aspects of content. So I was like, man, I need to get a sports job. I tried to get Bleacher Report job several times. Bleacher Report like, you cool and all, but not that cool. So Bleacher Report, y'all lost.
You lost one. So you went from Home Depot, which is more of the grunt work, to SC Johnson, to beer.
Alcohol, yeah. And then after that, I went to Army. And Army, you know, I knew that would be a different challenge, being that it wasn't a creative job, it was more strategy. So I definitely had a good foundation. But I was like, you know what? This is not for me at all. I love the people working on that account, but it wasn't the work that I really wanted to do as far as creating.
Now, you mentioned that you enjoyed the sports aspect of advertising or developing content. Can you speak more to the correlation between the two?
Yeah, so I grew up playing basketball. I got a basketball scholarship at St. Augustine University. All-time leading scorer. Humble brag there. Miss St. Augustine's University checked me out with an Ebony magazine. So that was my love for sports. Always following my older brother around to the basketball courts, to his baseball and football games. So having that passion, like I watch sports, like I watch NBA, TNT, like I keep up more with athletes are doing versus like the Kardashians, the Real Housewives, but like I don't watch any of that mess. And people that do watch it, it's still a mess, but it's so addictive you can't just turn it off.
Right.
So I knew that I just loved sports. So having a job around sports just it wouldn't seem like work to me, I guess. You know, people like, oh, your new job, Under Armour, that's like your dream job. And at first I was saying, yes, it is my dream job. But then I started thinking, I don't dream of working, so no job is my dream job.
That's really at the end of the day. Like, yeah, what? I'm not dreaming about work.
I love and passionate about, but I don't dream about getting up, putting on my Steph Currys and my Under Armour and going to work. No. I mean, right. I wish I was the trust baby, but I need to have a conversation with my parents about why I wasn't. But, you know, it is what it is.
Now, you're currently in Chicago. You're transitioning to the DMV fairly soon. What does it feel like for you to go home at this juncture?
Whew. I've been gone 18 years.
Wow.
When I went to college, and I'm aging myself right now, I've never came back home. I did like one summer home, but other than that, I stayed in North Carolina, I went to New York, I was all over the place. I don't know. It's like a part of me is like, I'm hella excited being closer to like my family. Like my niece is 3 and she'll FaceTime. She's like, hey auntie, are you here yet? I'm like, no, not yet, but soon.
Aww.
So I'm excited for that. I think I'm also nervous because even though Harley home always rapping, I kind of grew up in Chicago as an adult, if you know what I'm saying. And most of my memories are from Chicago. Like I remember my high school years and stuff like that, but I don't remember as much in high school as I do now.
Of course.
So I would never lived in Maryland when I was old enough to drink, old enough to go out. So it just going to be a different experience for me. And moving back with most of my friends married kids, it's just they're gonna be like, oh, we're in the house with the kids. I'm like, oh, y'all want to go to a dinner and buy bottles of wine, like you know. So also gonna have to get used to the driving. You know, I live in the city now, and I hardly drive. I Uber everywhere. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next challenge. I think it's unique in the aspect that I'm familiar with the area, but it's also new, right? You know? So I feel, even though I'm moving back home, I feel as though I'm just moving to a new city that I never really lived in, because I never lived in the city as an adult.
As an adult. And I'm sure the city has changed at least a little in 18 years.
A little lot. When I go home now, I have to use goddamn GPS to get to places. I'm like, wait, what happened to this building that was my cue to turn left, you know?
Right, absolutely.
So that's why I said, even though it's home, it still feels like a new city because I haven't lived there so long. So that's the excitement that I have.
Awesome. Well, what would you say would be one thing or more, should you feel it on your heart, that you would share with someone who is considering relocating?
I would say relocate because you want to, not because you feel as though you're forced to. And what I mean by that is, if you want to move to LA, find a job or career that will make you happy in LA. Don't just take a job somewhere else because it's more money. And what I mean by that is, if you truly love something and you're passionate and you're good about it, the money will come. And I know at a point in my career, I took a job where I knew I wouldn't really like it, but it was more money. I'm never doing that again. And I know earlier on in people's careers, you have to do that. But I think when you get to a certain point in your life is you turn down jobs until you get to one that you're excited about, you know? When I was looking for this Under Armour job, I turned down a couple of other jobs. I'm like, this is cool. I could do this job. I know I'll be successful. It pays me good, but it's not what I want to do. And that was my main thing when I realized that I was going to make a serious effort to move back home as far as looking for a job, that I'm not taking any job. I'm taking a job that I'm excited about, you know? Absolutely. So that would be my main advice. Take a job that you're excited about. If you're moving to a city you've never been to, definitely visit it before you move there.
That's great advice.
Great advice. And even right now with COVID, you could, if people working remotely, you could live somewhere for a month to see if you like the vibe. Like when you walk out on the pavement, does the city speak to you? And I know that may be a wild saying. Like, what do you mean the city speak to you? Like when I walked through New York, I'm like, the city speaks to me as a visitor, not as somebody that can live here. But when I walk in Chicago, I'm like, oh yeah, this city speaks to me, and I look forward to getting back home and for the DMV to welcome me back. Like, yep, you remember this? This city speaks to you also.
Well, Valicia, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to speak with us.
Anything for you, Mel Mitch. Anything for you. Mel, money making Mitch.
Listen, from your lips to God's ears, bring the money machine. You
money
hear me?
Making Mel Mitch.
Let's go. Yeah. Congratulations on your most recent move. It's definitely, your next stop is not loading, it is present. But what is loading is your move, and I know moving can be the bane of your existence. But best wishes.
It's going to be the bane, but luckily, you know, and this is also another point, when you move in, speak up for yourself. I'm like, hey, relocation. So basically, a truck is coming to my house, packing up everything, put it on the truck, and unloading it. So all I gotta do is like point right there, point
like
right
the commercial,
there,
yes,
point right there, and it just, you know, asking for something. Because when people send you an offer letter, that mean they want you, meaning that they gonna do what's needed to close the deal. So don't be afraid to ask for more money. Don't be afraid to ask for XYZ, because at the end of the day, all they're gonna do is say yes or no. They're not gonna like remove your offer. So
something that came to mind when you said speak up. Oftentimes I don't, or that's something that we encourage women to do, is to speak up for themselves. During the transitions that you've encountered in your life, what other things as a woman do you feel that you've dealt with because of your sex?
Oh, good question. I would say even now with working at Under Armour, you know, coming in with like a strong POV, boom, 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 and tossing out my credentials as a humble brag, like, hey, I know sports. I may be a female, but I played sports all my whole life. When you talking about certain players, and I'm chiming in like, oh, not that player, this player, just having a strong POV and understanding that first impressions, unfortunately, sometimes is how people remember you. So being prepared, and also setting up one-on-ones with any cross team members that I'm gonna have to work with, to get them outside of a large group to articulate my POV. And I'm just saying, being confident. I think the biggest thing is, can you sell water to a well, you know? And
right.
That's not, to me, talking slick, trying to get over somebody. That's just being confident in your delivery, because half the time, people you're talking to, they don't know the answer either. So how you present, if they like, oh, she presented with confidence, yes, what she's saying is 100% true. And I mean, if you think about it, that's how Trump won. He was lying the whole time. He knew he was lying, but he was presenting with confidence that people who are uneducated would believe some of the random lies and facts that he throws out.
That was so wild, but that's definitely great advice. Speak up. have confidence, know your worth, because that's what I'm hearing when you say things of that nature. You're believing in yourself, so you have that confidence to even speak up and let people know, like, you're in the room and you know what you're talking about. So that's definitely.
When you speak up, make sure you've done your research on how much this position in this city is worth. You know, don't undercut yourself or throw out a ridiculous number.
Because they peep that. They're like, oh, you're wasting my time.
Yeah, you're way too over what we have allocated. I don't know.
Exactly.
Next, you know.
Exactly. So would you say that in each of your roles that you negotiated for yourself?
So sometimes what I try to do is I have an idea of how much the range is just from research or talking to people. So I always ask 10 to 20K over that amount, and then they'll say, oh, well, this is our range. I'm like, okay, I may be able to work in that, because a company job is to pay you the least amount to get the most work out of you.
Absolutely.
So if they say, oh, we're only paying you $10 an hour, and you say, well, I'm looking for something $12 an hour, I'll continue to have these conversations to see if I'm interested, and by the time they come back, if they're interested, that small difference is not going to make or break a company. If they want you, they'll figure out a way to pay you, whether it's more vacation, more stock options, or something like that. Because I've taken more vacation. Like, give me an extra 2 weeks off, where you can't pay me physically more money. Okay, give me more vacation.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. You get what you negotiate. You get what you negotiate. Well, I'm ending this for a second time, but those questions just came to me when you said those last things.
Moneybell bitch is like, you on a time clock. You on a look.
I'm on a time clock because I don't want to waste your time. You know, I told you that we have an hour time slot. I want to honor that. But is there, I would say, on this journey, has there been moments that you regret?
I would say one moment that I do think about, I was graduating. I had already graduated from St. Augustine University, and maybe like 2 weeks before I graduated. So I had like a month or so break before I started at Syracuse. And I had got this internship with the Academy of Arts. I think they do the Emmys or the Grammys. Hold on. Academy of Arts. Academy Awards. What is that? Is that the Grammys or the Emmys? That's the Oscars. So I got an internship with the Oscars. Like, the lady called me, hey, just want to let you know we're so excited. We selected you. We love your interview and we want you to come out here and intern with the Academy. And like panicking, I was like, oh, I can't. I'm supposed to be going to Syracuse next week, you know? And she was like, oh, dang, okay, good luck. And I hung up the phone. And it was from a blocked number. I was like, God damn, I didn't even talk about the opportunity.
Right.
Think about pushing Syracuse off. Like, I always, not always, but I often wonder, like, damn, what would my life have been if I would have took that internship that could have led to a job? Could I have been working for the Oscars? And could I have been a voice to make the Oscars more black earlier? But, you know, it is what it is. I could have been California living, but I also love the life I have. And that goes back to J. Cole, love your life. Nobody's life is better than yours. So
absolutely,
no matter what social media would say you should or shouldn't have, you know, I'm gonna love my life. So that's probably the one thing that I think about. Like, if I would have took that internship versus going to college, where would I be?
Another thing I wanted to ask is a safety question. As women, a lot of times now, I've traveled by myself, solo, many times, and it really scares and frightens my mother. But you said you moved to Atlanta with your aunt, but did you know anyone in Chicago when you transitioned to Chicago?
I knew 2 people from Chicago that I went to undergrad at St. Aug with, and that was it. I wasn't scared because I had moved to Atlanta and I really didn't know anybody, and I made friends there. I think it was just like, hey, what the hell? In my mind, if it didn't work, I would just move back home until I find something new. But I think just moving makes me traveling by myself even better. And I used to worry by myself on purpose and not alone, because I don't ever feel as though I'm alone. I'm just by myself, and being by myself is perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't enjoy your own company. How are you going to enjoy company of other people?
That's
and also,
it.
Selfishly, when I travel by myself, I can do whatever the hell I want to do. I don't need to
at any time
compromise. If I don't want to go out, if I don't want to drink, I can stay in the room, chill on the balcony, and I don't have to worry about people saying, "Come on, you and XYZ, how you not gonna go out? How you not gonna turn up?" You know, so.
For sure.
I am perfectly fine. Even when I do group trips, I go out on my own. Like when we went to Croatia, I was like, okay, y'all sleep. I got off the boat. I rented me a scooter, and I drove around the island. And I had 8 lunch, and I had me a perfectly fine day.
I appreciated Croatia because at any given time, we would not be together, and everybody would be doing God knows what separately, but we always knew where to meet up, where to come back, and we were fine. That was a great trip. It was.
Yep.
So this interview was awesome, in my opinion. Great advice for anybody considering relocated. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey, and how relocating has impacted you over the years and even currently. This is valuable. Your story is valuable. You're valuable. And I appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. Follow me on TikTok, Snapchat. I'm lying. I don't have any of those.
Listen, I will put it all in the show notes.
I don't have any of those. And my Instagram is private. So if I don't know you, I don't accept you. So don't follow me. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I guess. But yeah, this was fun. In Maryland, I'm coming home, baby. Get ready. You know what I am looking forward to? Crabs. Crabs.
I hear that they're the best on the East Coast, and I am looking forward to finding that out. Do not be surprised if I hit you up and be like, I'm headed to the DMV. Where do I need to go?
After March 2022, when I move into my house. Before that, Understood. I'll be my brother. But April 2022, it's on.
It's lit.
And popping.
It's lit. Let's go. Well, all right then. You have a great rest of your evening, and I will talk to you later.
Alrighty then. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.